So I was working on my project and I realized another pattern. Hi, my name is Julie, and I'm sharing about my experience and process of clearing up my looping energy, my repeating karmas, my spiritual inheritance, my ancestral inheritance. And I discovered something else that I'm working through. So I'm going to talk about it. Sometimes when I talk about it here, I can see my thoughts and my inner world, put external, and it helps me kind of see what I need to see. And also I get to share the process with you in case it could be helpful to you. Even if it's not the specific information that I discover as truth for me, just seeing the process done is something that you can apply and experiment with for yourself. But here's the pattern that I've got in front of me. It's a pattern of dealing with jerks. I laugh because I don't normally let myself call people jerks. Honestly, I don't. And what I just realized was the way that I deal with difficult people is a coping mechanism. And there is a more pure way that I can do this and remain authentic instead of using the coping mechanism. And I'm ready to do it now. I'm finally ready. So, to be honest, I don't often deal with a lot of people who give me difficulty or who are kind of mean or I just don't. But even if I do, my coping mechanism never let it bother me. Sorry, I had something on my teeth. I could feel it. I've just noticed that if somebody is kind of rude or difficult, my coping mechanism very easily dismisses them. It just don't bother me. And so I think it's normal to be bothered to some degree by people who are difficult, but I think it's also normal to be not bothered by them. So I think what I'm looking for here is to balance out some energy within me that originally caused me to develop the coping mechanism. And with that energy processed, then I won't need the coping mechanism. I can just deal with it in real time, the energy will move through me without a coping mechanism. The coping mechanism is not moving the energy through me. It's probably suppressing and denying it. So that means this energy lives in me as a pattern, coping in the form of a coping mechanism. And that means that I periodically have this type of situation show up in my life. And it has been few and far between. Excuse me. And like I said, since I shrugged them off, I barely noticed them. But lately I just realized, oh, there is quite a few right now. There is quite a few. Excuse me, the last video that I shared, I talked about a guy at the lake. That's one. So besides that one, I can think of 5 right now. Maybe 6. The 6th one that I thought of is mostly just an unfriendly person. They're allowed to be unfriendly. It doesn't bother me. But also, maybe I do feel a way about that. Maybe there is something in here for me to process about it, because I guess in a way I do kind of think it's rude. But I also think it's not for me to take personally, because it's about them. If they're not a friendly person, that's their problem. And they're right. So anyway, basically what it comes down to is I have to allow myself to feel some uncomfortable feelings that I've been suppressing and denying, so that I can get back to a genuine place where it doesn't bother me. Right now, it doesn't bother me, but it's because I'm suppressing and denying it. So when I process through this suppressed energy of the feeling that has not been processed, then I become the open channel and the version of myself that can handle this should it happen in the future. And what it is just dealing with difficult people, dealing with contrary, passive aggressive, just angry, difficult, whatever, just people who are against me. Like, if someone was like my enemy and stuff, they would probably be concerned at the level of unbothered I am by them. And now they would know, if they watched this, that it was because I was coping. And my coping mechanism was just solid. But now it's been breaking apart. Now I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh, I don't want to have to cope with a difficult person. I just want to be me through the difficult person that I can handle. And now, so here's what's rooted in me. Obviously, there was a previous time in my life where I dealt with a difficult person and it made me feel a way. And I did not have the capacity to process what that feeling was. So let's talk about it a little, and I'm going to really validate myself on these feelings of hurt that I'm going to try to conjure up and allow to be with me, so that the energy can be reanimated and move again. And I think it's just that I've had this pattern enough, that I've studied it enough, and I can let it go now. Okay, so first things first, I'm acknowledging the pattern. Let me validate myself on why I have this pattern. Well, at some point, I was unprepared to process the overwhelming feeling of someone who was being a jerk to me. This could have been someone picking on me on the playground. This could have been just someone being passive-aggressive, being unfair, manipulative. When I think about it, like in terms of this, I'm like, wow, just having this pattern caused me to attract a lot of these people into my life. More and more chances to see the pattern, it wasn't time for me to see it until now. Wow. But if we're talking about playground stuff, that is like 44 years ago. You know? Whoa. That's all right. Okay. But that's a long time to study difficult people. And if I wanted to study difficult people, then I would have to be exposed to difficult people again and again and again in all kinds of scenarios for all kinds of reasons. And that's how you get to be an expert at something, is to repetitively experience it, right? Is to practice. So I would consider myself well practiced at dealing with difficult people, and I usually handle it pretty well these days. There was a time where I sort of shifted my mindset and realized, like, if somebody doesn't want to understand me, then it's well within my right to walk away from them. If they're trying to misunderstand me, definitely walking away from them. And then it would be that, like, only my family members could be difficult with me to get me to feel anything about it. And it would be like frustration or anger. So we know those are usually like cover emotions that kind of cover something else, which would probably likely be hurt. So it's valid that I started to suppress and deny these feelings that I had about people being difficult, because the hurt that that I hadn't been able to process when I had somebody be unfair and difficult to me. It still lived there, and I was trying to avoid feeling it. So let's see. I'm thinking of a person who lashed out at me recently. I think I definitely felt hurt, but I don't feel it now. I let myself feel sad for a while about it, but mostly it was sad about like the loss of the relationship that we used to have, the loss of like that person's role in my life, the loss of trust. I used to trust this person very much. I let myself feel some sadness and grief for that. And I surrendered a lot to God, you know? So I got myself through any discomfort I was feeling immediately when it happened. And now I'm thinking, is there anything else? Maybe I should reread their message. They did it over text. Yeah, that's a great idea. Normally I wouldn't reread somebody's message. I'd be like, moving on. Glad I'm not thinking of that anymore. Okay, let's see what they said. This person's mean. Yeah, they're kind of evil. I don't like them. Um, like I feel like they're heartless. Yeah, but that makes sense because anyone who would act like that has their heart blocked. So yes, I'm talking about it, but it's helping me feel something, right? So it sounds like I'm justifying it and talking myself out of it, but I'm actually talking myself into it, okay? See, my logical mind doesn't even care about any of this. I just have to unbury this pattern. And the emotion is what's holding it into me. Okay, so Yeah, this person's heart's blocked, so they're just like acting like the devil. And yeah, I won't read you the stuff because it's pretty rotten. Like, it's really rotten. This person has been real rotten. And when I say rotten, I mean like real bad. Like kind of unbelievable. So, part of me, my dual consciousness kicks in, and part of me goes, "It's quite a gift that she's giving you." But it really is, though, right? If someone needed to play the part of the person who would poke me so deeply and hurt me so much by being a difficult person, and she volunteered, that was a good gift, right? Because I need to bring this up, and I really wouldn't want anyone else to be such a jerk to me. Like, this is real rotten stuff. So, okay. So, this person has hurt me deeply. They're kind of out of control. They literally don't care about how they affect me or other people that I care about. They're totally justifying, and this is all in response to me asking them for help, to not disrupt someone that I care about. They got triggered or something. They just acted. They lashed out. Okay, and I'm powerless to change it. Like, I think I sat with some of this, but now I'm sitting with a little bit more right now. I can feel. Oh, okay. And what is tied to this is me letting it mean something about me, right? Like, if I get treated bad and I let that mean something about my worth, then that's an issue. I am not the things that this person tried to say that I am. I'm not doing the things that they tried to say that I'm doing. And just them thinking that, just even if a lot of people were thinking that, it wouldn't make me a lesser person. Okay. This is like a big, deep one. I can feel it because this is ancestral. I think this is something where perhaps my family line has often held grudges, even against family members, because these family members have really got issues with narcissism, egos, lashing out at each other. Huge narcissism. Okay. Because you have to be a narcissism to, like, treat somebody like they're garbage, right? And then, like, if you grow up like that and you have a bunch of people treating each other like garbage around you, like, it sort of can imprint how you feel about yourself and the way that you value yourself. And you might not think that you're worth much as a result of, like, just people treating you that way. And I think there's part of me that feels like, well, no matter what I do, I can't get away from people who treat me this way. And I think it's because this loop has been repeating in my energy body of avoiding feeling the real hurt that goes with somebody treating me that way, but also holding a misunderstanding about what that means about me and what I'm worth. So that little girl part of me who, like, watched as people were at war around her, let that mean something about herself. And it's not true that she's worth less, or that she's lower class, or any of that, based on the behavior of the people around her. based on the fortune or misfortune of the people around her. She could be poor, living under a bridge, and still be worth everything. So I'm just like letting the feelings be here, right? So I've accepted, here I am, all these years later, still carrying this pattern and this wound. And I'm just sorry if you can hear me breathing and stuff. My mouth is like this close to the microphone, and there's nothing to block my wind. But I don't want to speak too loud because my window's open and I've got neighbors and stuff. So I'm just letting the feelings be here. I've accepted, and now I'm being present with the feelings. Okay, the feeling of oh, I even felt a bit of the black sheep syndrome. So the black sheep syndrome, I've tried to explain this to my family years ago when I understood about energy and I realized I could read energy, and I told them how the black sheep syndrome works. And it's that basically if you have the black sheep of the family, this is the one that everyone kind of points at and says, well, this is the one that's trouble. This is the one that's not doing well. I've heard it referred to also as the designated patient. This is the one who has all the issues. And everyone kind of blames it on that person. They don't see the issues existing in themselves, even though they do, even if it's just in the form of a judgment. The pattern exists in everyone in the family. It's just that if many family members point at the same person, you see that's an energetic burden on that person. But that person also is not getting any support, even though they might be being told, go to the doctor, take care of this. No real care and emotional support, and also like a lot of blame being put on them. In a way, it might actually put enough pressure to pop some of them out of it, and they'll just be like, "F you guys," like it's not true that I'm the issue here. And then others might not have an easy time getting up, and they could fall into addiction and things like that, because a lack of connection is often what drives people to addictions. And if you're indulged into addictions, then that can be its own difficult pattern to get out of, right? Okay, so yeah, these are really unhealthy patterns to relate in. And these kind of things is what inspired me to develop my Fair Relating Reflection deck. It's an oracle deck that I developed for people who are wanting to relate in a fair manner while they're in process of opening their heart. Because when your heart is open, you will naturally know how to be fair to yourself and others. But until that time, sometimes we have coping mechanisms and biases and our egos in the way, and we're not really sure if we're being fair or not. We're not really sure what if we're in the wrong, or if there's something we should look at as a reflection into ourselves instead of pointing the finger at the other. And these cards I developed help people look for those things within themselves and take the higher road more often. And it helped me along the way very much, and I still will go to that deck in a difficult situation, and it's always for difficult people. Sometimes it's just for reassurance that I'm handling it the correct way. And that's because inside me has been always that guilt and that feeling of like I've done something wrong, even though I didn't. So I think that's one of the reasons it's taken me until now to even notice this pattern, because it wasn't time. Some of the cards were always telling me, like reassuring me that I was handling it appropriately, like I was taking the high road. But now it's like, get off the high road for a minute, come back down here into the swampy swamp, feel your feelings, and then we'll get back up on that high road. So, yeah. Mm. Oh, I'm like getting memories now of like other times and things people have said to me that I totally shrugged off that are really rotten, that are really low, and that are really hurtful. There's definitely part of me that just wants to like run away and like not be around any of these people. But I know they're showing up this way because of the energy in me matches that behavior because I've not processed full that experience yet. So that's what I'm trying to do. Fully process the experience of being treated poorly by someone who is an unfair relating or abusive relating or just rude, mean, abusive, whatever. And these are people who are usually triggered, I think. I'm not talking about calculatively evil people, like, psychopath and sociopath. I'm not saying I've never encountered one of those people coping that way, but I think I'm talking more about people who have been triggered or they're in a coping mechanism and they're acting unfairly, unkindly to others in general, but also me. Okay. When I, at some point, raised my standard on myself, I would no longer allow myself to be unkind to others even when I was upset. And I think that's maybe why I just decided like suppress and deny whatever was going on because I couldn't do anything about it anyway. But more what I would need to do is just surrender it. And surrendering it allows me to take the moment first to feel what I feel about it. All right, so I know that was a big breath in the microphone, sorry. I feel pretty good on this, and sometimes these take longer, but I've been processing this for a couple days. I just didn't become consciously aware of what I was processing until I was working on my project a few minutes ago. And then one of the things I had to do was I was testing a card picker that I have. And so it drew some cards for me. And the reading that came out called me out. And I was like, oh. And then I asked another question, got another reading, and then realized, oh, okay, I see. And basically the reading was saying, like, you're being asked to get better at dealing with nemesis. Get better at dealing with your nemesis. Make sure you're not letting it mean something about your own worth. And it said I was in process, that I was already working on it, but that it needed some more work. I was like, oh, well, let's do it. Let's work on it. And like I said, this is ancestral, and in the reading did say that as well. And so this may take more time, right? I may be processing like a lot of generations of doing this. So I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to be with this feeling as long as it needs me. And yeah, I've been, you know, okay overall. Like I did feel myself like diving into work, when this stuff was kind of coming up for me. But then I took some time away from my project and went into the lake today. And I had it to myself because it was kind of a cooler, rainy day today. The water was like still, and it was awesome. The water was only very slightly cooler than the air, so it wasn't bad to be in at all. And I have this seat float that I just kind of like sit in and meditate. It was really, really good. And when I was done, it was just like, oh, yes, I needed that. Yeah. Really, really glad for that moment. And that's probably what reset me enough where I could be open to kind of seeing this, because I honestly wouldn't have expected that this would come up at all. But I'm sure glad it did. So that's where I'm at. I'm at the step of still being present with any feelings that want to come up about that. And as the feelings have been with me, when they're ready to move, they will.